My guest today is Andre Norman. Maybe you've heard him called the ambassador of hope. He went from a maximum security prison cell to Harvard Law's campus, and now he's on a mission to stop kids from ending up where he did. Andre's message is raw and real. There are kids in white picket fence suburbia right now who are just as lost as the ones behind bars. And their parents are freaking out like I was because they don't know what to do. If you've ever wondered when to step in, what signs you're missing, or how to get through to your kid before it's too late, you need to hear this. Andre doesn't just sugarcoat it. He gives you the playbook, the wake-up call, and the hope we all need. From gang leader to guardian, Andre Norman is on a quest to save our kids. Let's get into it. Andre Norman.
That would be me.
I am so excited to have you here on the Bad Mom podcast. It's been a dream of mine to interview and to find out more about your work and your background. And, just to start off, obviously, you have been so supportive of me and my family as we've been going through all of the stuff with our own kid. And I felt like a bad mom on so many occasions and reached out to you, and you just gave me such great advice, so solid and so simple. And you have such a great story. And I would love to just hear your version of your tale and how you ended up in a position where you are supporting thousands of young people who are, really cross the demographics. And you have found a way to really help parents and help young people and create a transformation.
Well, first off, I believe every young person should get a chance at having a great life. And for that young person to get that chance is usually going to hinge on how the parents are governing or parenting or helping their child go through. So I believe to get better kids, we need better parents. And to get better parents, they need better training because as you know, when the babies pop out, there's no manual. And as each one pops out, they're not the same. And as they start growing up, they could be twins, drastically different personalities. Everything's like, what is this? It's a human being with his own life. And even though you gave it life, it doesn't govern by what you say. So everybody's an individual from day one. And learning to adapt to the individual sometimes is hard because we expect kids, because they listen to us at 2, 3, 4, 5, even though they're going with us because they don't know how to get around us. But when they find out how to get around us, they start going around us, and we're not prepared for that all the time. I remember the time I used to take my son shopping, I buy him clothes, I pick his clothes, I pick his sneakers. Then one day we were in the store, I picked up the sneakers. He said, "Dad, can I try something else?" And he went to the other side of the store and got the most egregious pair of shoes I've ever saw in my life. The complete opposite of what I would have picked on purpose. He wanted to be his own self. And I let him buy him. I said, okay. And it became him becoming independent. And sometimes it's hard for parents as kids strive to be independent. Sometimes it's sneakers, sometimes it's decisions, sometimes it's friends. And so my base is helping parents understand better communication styles and techniques to communicate, because your kid loves you and they get it. They are you. They're the next version of you. But sometimes communication is the thing that breaks down, that causes a disconnect.
Yeah, I love that story about the sneakers. My son did the same thing, and it's really interesting because I had a fight with him about it. I didn't let him go and choose what he wanted, and that's a really interesting distinction. That's like our ego, right? Yeah. So
if you want to wear them, knock yourself out. Don't come home crying that people made fun of you because you have on orange and green sneakers because you picked them. But that was the beginning of his independence, and I recognized it as such. So I affirmed it. I said, okay. I said, are you sure? You will know what comes with that, and go do your thing. And eventually, he went from crazy colors back to the colors that I like. But he did it on his own accord.
Yeah. Yeah. They all come around at some point to agree with you. But you have such an amazing story. And I know you've told this story so many times, but I think it's so powerful for the parents who are listening to sort of see the gamut that you've run in your life. And I think what's awesome about it is it's so hopeful, right? That anything's possible when you make up your mind.
Definitely. My mom married a high school sweetheart, and she had 2 kids, my older sister, Janine, and my favorite sister, Imani. Her husband went to jail for robbing banks. While he was in jail, she met my dad, a local hustler. She had 4 more kids. My sister, Naomi, my brother, Eric, myself, my little brother, Ed, who I've been fighting with for 58 years. we've, we've been nonstop fighting since day one. And everything was cool in the house. Mom, dad, 6 kids, but my dad had a habit of beating my mom. So we're going through, my dad's 6'6", 300 pounds, size 18 shoe. It was never a fair fight. And at 2, 3, 4 years old, going through the domestic violence, as they call it now, in the 70s, it was called handling your household because you were allowed to beat your wife in the 70s. I didn't understand that this wasn't life in your house or the house down the street or even the house next door. This is from 0 to 6, I'm only in this house. From birth to 6 years old, I don't go anywhere but with these people. And this is how these people are acting. So domestic violence or violence against mom became normalized. Then I got old enough, I got to go to school. I couldn't wait to get out of that house. I ran to school, and I loved school because I wasn't in the house. Then on the way home from school one day, kids lined up on the side of the road and started throwing rocks at our bus and calling us niggers and calling us names. I went to school in the 70s in Boston during the busing crisis. And I go home and I say, hey, mom, hey, dad, who are these people? Because I never met white people before. Why are they throwing rocks at me? And what are these names? And my dad looked at me, then he walked away. And what I didn't understand was my dad grew up in Virginia in the 40s where kids threw rocks names at him. And he went home to my grandfather, his dad, and asked the same exact question I asked him. My grandfather told him, that's just the way it is, son. Protect your brothers and sisters and run faster. So my grandfather moved the whole family from Virginia to Boston and Great Migration and the liberal North. So when it happened to his kids, the trauma that he suffered as a child was relived because he'd never dealt with it. They just moved on from it. And I didn't understand that my father had been through the same thing and worse. All I know is he's dead, but it was relived trauma for him, so he couldn't help me. So as a 8-year-old kid, I got to figure out the busing crisis of Boston by myself, and I'm not good at processing and figuring out stuff. So I came up with all the wrong answers. Eventually, the rock stopped. Then for my mother, one day the beating stopped. I came home, she said, Dad's gone. She finally got rid of him. She was tired of the beatings. Single mom, 6 kids living in the inner city. We know the story. We move around. I go to a new school. Then we find out that Andre's illiterate in the 3rd grade. I can't read or write. They had a thing called a dummy class back then. They put you at the end of the hall and they just closed the door. Luckily, a teacher intervened and pulled me out of the dummy class. She said, you're not a dummy. You just learn differently. My mom got 6 kids. She's working 3 jobs. She doesn't have time to do homework. She doesn't have time to check books. She doesn't have time to make lunch. So she's working to keep the lights on because she was like, I'm not taking welfare. I'm going to work. And that's what my grandmother did. That's what she did. So she's trying to feed 6 kids by herself and keep the lights on. It's Boston, keep the heat on. And it's just a lot. So I'm one of the kids and one of the things that just fell through the cracks. But Miss Oliver took the time to teach me my learning style. And I caught on and I got up. By the 6th grade, I could read, write, count like everybody else. When I got to the 6th grade, I realized that we were poor. Because in elementary school, there's no poor. You're just kids. Middle school, people get fashionable, they get designer clothes and all the rest of this stuff. I had none of the above. Before school was so huge, we would go into the store and everybody would buy chips and cookies and candy and I couldn't afford anything. So I just stood there and they would make fun of me. And I felt like a charity case. So my friend said to me, we can go to the park after school and sell weed. So I used to make $30 a day. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it was enough money to buy clean socks. It was enough money to buy popcorn before school. It's enough money to buy my brother a sandwich before and after school. So $30 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but for me at 11 years old, it was life-changing.
Yeah, $30 for an 11-year-old back then was a lot.
Yeah, I was buying clothes. I was buying socks. I was buying shoes. Back then, my mother used to take me to the store and there used to be a table full of sneakers. It was $5 a pair. You have to find a pair that fits you. I remember one time I asked her to buy me some sneakers that were $20. She almost killed me. My son went to the store not that long ago, bought some $800 Jordans. I almost killed him. But
I love that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so you were making $11 a day,
And then
or $30 a day at 11.
Then I'm in the 6th grade, and my teacher, Miss Ellis, gave me a trumpet. She put me in the band. So from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I'm in the band. I'm playing the trumpet every single day. I love the trumpet. I got to high school. I joined the band. And I went down in the band room. It was a bunch of nerdy kids and me. And I used to be in the band in the morning making music. Then in the afternoon, I hang out with the cool guys. In the morning, I go to band. Afternoon, the cool guys. And one day, the cool guy said, "Why are you carrying that box? It's stupid." I said, "It's my trumpet." They said, "Man, we don't play the trumpet. We out here in these streets chasing girls, getting money." I said, "This is my love." He said, "Man, get rid of it or get rid of us." I'm 14. My dad's gone. My mom's technically gone. My favorite sister's off to college. I'm alone. All I got is my friends. I can't give up my friends, so I give up my trumpet. And
Yeah.
what I didn't understand was the trumpet was my passport to another life. When I gave it up, I gave up my purpose, my discipline, my dreams, everything. And there was nobody there to process that with me, to sit me down and say, "Hey, Andre, do you really want to?" And when I did quit the trumpet, nobody noticed because everybody's busy in my life. So I went from being a full-time musician to just a full-time guy hanging in the street. And then it just drifts down. And one day you end up in court. The judge starts reading off sentences, and they put you in a van and send you to maximum security penitentiary. So at 18 years old, I went from a 14-year-old musician to an 18-year-old criminal. The stuff I did at 16 was juvenile. When I did it at 17, it was an adult. At 16, I went to the juvenile center. I got snack time. They got snack time in juvie. I'm saying that you can do the same exact thing the day after your 17th birthday, you're going to prison.
I think it's so interesting because what you're talking about, that time in your life and in a young person's life where we're really looking for identity, right? So you as a musician was one identity. You as a friend in a gang was another identity. And I think everything that we're afraid of in life, our whole question of are we good enough, comes down to, are we going to get thrown out of the tribe? Right? Like nobody wants to get thrown out of the tribe. And I think that's a lot of what starts to happen at that age where you're like, oh my God, I have to do what is going to keep me with the people,
right?
With the tribe. And so I know, just to fast forward your story of your decisions that you made while you were in prison. How long were you in prison?
I did a total of 14 years.
Wow.
But
as an adult,
18 to 32, I was in prison.
Wow. And then while you were there, you started to have this transformative belief that you could transcend, you could learn, you could study, and that you had this vision, this crazy idea that you wanted to go to Harvard.
That was the idea. That was the plan.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I go into prison. I become a gang member, of course, and I become a gang leader, and I become a psychopath, and I'm like living this life of the crazed prison gang boss. And I'm in solitary confinement, and I had an epiphany. I was a king of nowhere. I said, I don't want to be the king of nowhere. I thought about it, that I want to be free, was my first thought. And I looked at everybody who got free. If you look at any prison numbers, 80% of people go home, go back. So free doesn't work. I said, I don't want to be free. I want to be successful, because successful people don't come here. I said, where do they come from? They said, college. So I said, I'll go home, go to college, and I'll be successful. I picked a school called Harvard University. And when I picked...
You just decided it was Harvard.
This is the thing, people get tripped. I'm from Boston. I used to ride my skateboard at Harvard Square all the time. So that's the only school I knew the name of. The train stop is named after the school, and I rode my skateboard. There's the only school I knew the name of. So I named the school I knew. Then I came out my cell the next day. I told all my friends, I'm going home. I'm going to Harvard. I'm going to be successful. And looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, Dre, you can't go to Harvard. I said, why? They said, you're black. They said, you're a criminal. They said, you're in a hole for being violent. You know what I'm saying? You can't read. Your family's poor. Your sister's an addict. And they just told me all the reasons I couldn't go. And at first I was listening. Then halfway through, it clicked. They sounded just like my friends in the 9th grade of all the reasons I shouldn't play the trumpet. So I said, no, I'm going to do this. And I just started going to school. And I sit here 20-something years later, a Harvard fellow. I've taught at Harvard Law School
Wow.
for many years. I've taught at London Business School. I've taught at the Pentagon. I've taught at the White House. I teach at London. I teach all over the world. I just came back from Henley Business School in Johannesburg. And when my friends would call me, and they call me still, Dre, where you at? I'm at Harvard. Where you at? I'm in the penitentiary. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
Changing beliefs is the hardest thing. And then acting on the change.
Changing beliefs is the hardest thing. I love that. And then acting on the change. And I watched your TED talk from the prison, and I was just blown away by your vision of, there we're having a labor shortage, and there are 2.2 million
Workers.
people in prison that could be workers, that could be taught the skills and really have that belief change. And you're at the head of that. But before we get to that, I want to talk about how you also said, because here I am, I'm a mom. I have watched my kids struggle. I have seen my kid go through depression, anxiety. It was debilitating for him. He, like so many kids, was a COVID kid and spent his graduating year in his room with, a device pressed up against his face, just trying to connect with anybody. And I love what you said is, parents in suburbia are freaking out now because, all this is coming home to them. And you were so steadfast the times that I've reached out to you about your belief that there can be a transformation here.
100%.
It makes me want to cry how supportive you were of us. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you see going on with this generation, with the anxious generation. It's gone across the demographic divides, So, give me an example of that mom or that parent who reaches out to you and is like, holy shit, my kid is in so much trouble.
The
I don't know
first
what
thing I
to
run
do.
into often is suburban parents will keep it there. They go to great schools, they're in nice neighborhoods, everything's safe, but your kid just goes off the rails for whatever the reason. Whatever the reason, kid goes off the rails, and they're not prepared for that because it wasn't part of the equation. If you lived in the city of New York or the city of Miami or the city of Los Angeles, you're prepared for your kid to go off the rails, and you have precautions for that. You have guardrails. In suburbia, there's no guardrails. So if your kid happens to go off the rails, he's going to be in trouble because there's nobody coming to help him. There's no AA drop-in centers. There's no teen challenge places in the suburbs. It's just, well, none. That's good. That's good property. We got to have a house there or a business there. We can't put no teen challenge center. So parents are in a situation where they're not ready for what's coming because it doesn't happen often enough. I go to inner city of America. There's 100 drop-in centers. There's 100 treatment centers. The parole office is there. The courts are there. Everything's where we live. Where you live, there's no support. There's no collateral support. The cop knows how to deal with addicts and people who get in trouble. The police know. I mean, the school teachers know. The ambulance drivers know. Everybody, the storekeeper know. Everybody deals with this stuff: depression, addiction, criminality, psychosis, mental health. It's all in our neighborhoods from day one. So everybody, from the postman all the way to the guy who runs a corner store, has dealt with mental health, addiction, and trauma every day comes into the city. You're in the suburbs, you don't have help. You're just on your own. And then there's the shame and embarrassment of saying, my son or daughter is, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? That kicks in. Then you say, okay, well, maybe I can just send him on a trip, or maybe I'll give him another gift, or maybe you think you can buy your way out of it indirectly. And that doesn't work because it doesn't speak to the pain. And it's just like, it's not the parents' reality. So my mother had siblings who did drugs. My grandmother had siblings who did drugs and depression so they're prepared to deal with it. You're like, I don't know what's going on. This isn't my kid. This isn't our reality, but it is your kid and it's become your reality. So that is woefully underprepared for the life that falls on their doorstep. And so when they call me, it's embarrassed, not clued in, not clear, doesn't understand. I can't talk about it in my community. And so I'm like kind of isolated. And my husband can't mention it at work because he's the CEO of the company, but his kid's on drugs or his kid's depressed. And how do you explain that? You're going to run this multi-million-dollar company, but you can't run your own kid. And it just becomes all these variables that create barriers to getting the kid help. And I learned early, I believe white kids had no problems because I grew up in the city and we were all struggling. Then one day somebody told me to go to a white school and speak to the kids. I said, for what? They got everything. They're cool. I go to a white school. They drink at the white school. They smoke at the white school. They have sex at the white school. They have bullies at the white school. I'm like, what is, I grew up watching Leave It to Beaver, Partridge Family, Brady Bunch. They didn't have fat kids. They didn't have drama. They didn't have none of that. I'm like, what is this? These kids cut themselves. I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh. Then I said, well, at least you got dads. And so the guy that sleeps upstairs, he's not dad. He tolerates my mother. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't come to my games. He doesn't know my friends. His assistant buys me my gifts. He's always on his phone. We don't call him dad. We call him the guy that sleeps upstairs.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, it blew me away. When I walked out of that school, I said, never again will I judge people based on my ignorance. I don't know what I don't know. So if you call me, I'm just going to show up and give you what I got. And so some of the biggest thing is getting the parents to accept the help. Because they're like,
yeah, I think shame is so big. And you know, that's really like the whole impetus between behind this podcast. Like bad mom, like we've all got that going in the back of our heads. So how do you deal with a parent and a kid, they're in this shame bubble?
For me, what makes me unique in this space, most of the parents I work with, I've been in Helena, Montana, to Scottsdale, all up and down the coast, and all the wonderful places, Newport Beach, been all over. And when they call me, what it is one, I'm not from the country club. I'm not from the community. So I'm super safe because I'm not from your world and I'm not from your space. So like, okay, we can talk to this guy. And we can really be clear and free about the pain and the trauma and the problems that we're having, because it's truly a concern of bumping into somebody at an event in your community who knows all your personal business. So that shame makes people hold on to it.
I know you've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of young people now. Where do you start, and where can you pinpoint the transformation? Like, what's your methodology to get to I'm going to change my beliefs? Because that was really your transformative moment.
The first thing I do is I believe the kid's in pain. Whatever the kid believes, I believe. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. They cut me off. They shut me out. They make fun. Whatever the kid believes, I believe, because that is the starting point. Mom would say, he has a brand new bike. I just bought him a car. He just came back from skiing in Aspen. He's not a problem. He has all that notwithstanding, the kid believes what the kid believes. And the parents want to believe, well, since we've provided all this stuff, he shouldn't have that belief. So I don't discredit what they feel. I want to hear them. My strongest gift, day one, is listening. And they will tell you, if you listen, their pain, their struggles, their fears, whatever they're dealing with, they will tell you if you sit and you earnestly listen. I don't try to challenge. I don't try to defend. Just whatever it is, just keep going. Just keep going and let it all out. And once I hear enough, then I say, okay, well, what is the outcome you want? What are you trying to get to? Man, I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, cool. Well, where's a better place? Well, I think I got an auntie over there. There's always somebody in a child's life that they look up to. And early on, 2, 3, 4, 5 is mom and dad. At 16 through 20, it could be anybody. It might be the school teacher. It might be the bus driver. It might be the auntie. I'm looking for the person that they look up to and that they're following. It might be somebody on social media. I want to find out who they're looking up to and the influence that they're getting from that person. And I'll try to loop them in to the best of my ability, whether it's in person or just through conversation. And the key thing is to listen, no judgment, no pushback. This isn't the time for pushback. Even if they say something completely wrong, I'm not here to debate that. I can win this point and lose the kid. I'd rather let them win the point now and win the kid, then we can fix that later. And I had a kid, dad called me, daughter's out doing fentanyl. She's in the streets. They're from a really nice suburban town and they're living well. Dad has a business. And the daughter just decided she wants to be in the streets. And she started getting high. Then it took over. First, it was for fun. And once she got addicted, it took over her life. Now she's literally in the streets and she's doing all kinds of stuff. The last thing you want your daughter doing, she's out there doing, hanging with people you don't want to hang with. So when he called me and he's telling me the problem, they give me the dad version. I say, okay, give me her number. Oh, she's not going to talk to you. Give me her number. A lot of times parents just want to vent. They don't want a solution. I run into the I want to vent versus I want a solution. I'm a solution guy. So I said, give me her number. He gives me the number and I just called her phone. She picks up. I said, hey, let me speak to, I'm saying, Janie. So Janie's not here. So, all right, she said, who is this? This is Andre. Well, what did you want? I had a job for her. So job about what? I said, her dad gave me a number and I had a job for her, but if you're not Janie, I'm not telling you shit. I'm Janie. I just want to make sure who you were. And I said, but I knew it was her day one. So we started talking and I said, I had a job for her. I go to drug treatment centers and he told me about his daughter and she's phenomenal. She's been in her life. She understands. I said, I need you to come help me, help other people. And she was like, do what? I said, tell your story. You mean I don't have to sit on the couch and people ask me my questions, my problem? No, you're going to come tell your truth and your story. You're going to help somebody stay alive. I took her from being a patient and I made her the practitioner. I took her from being a weak person. I made her the powerful person. And she was like, yeah, I want to do that. And we kept talking and she said, what's your name? I said, Andre Norman. She said, oh, you were doing good up until then. I said, why? She said, you're not Andre Norman. I watch his videos. I have millions of videos online and kids watch them around the world. She said, I know Andre Norman. I watch all his videos. You're not Andre Norman. So I FaceTimed her on my phone. I said, yeah, you're right. You know, I'm not Andre Norman. You got me. I FaceTimed her and she saw it was me. She started crying. She said, I can't believe that my dad even knows you. And then we talked. She agreed to come to the treatment center and speak. She called her dad the night of and said, I'm supposed to be with Andre in the morning. You had to get up and take. She had no clothes. She had no this. They had to go pick her up, give her a shower, and drive her to me. So the mom came down, and we went into the drug treatment center, and she stood in front of these women, and she told her story. She told her truth. And I told the mother, whatever she says, don't argue with it. Don't refute it. Don't say anything. And she shared her story. And then she got to get it out to people. And she saw people learning and growing from her experience, which made her want to have more experiences like this. And instead of saying, we're going to stick you in a center in Utah, I put her in the front of the room in Ohio. And those 35 minutes that she spoke, she cried, she boo-hooed, but she got through it. And it made her stronger.
I love that. I think this is a huge message for parents and for young people and everybody. It's a huge message for humans that service, contribution will heal you.
Definitely. If you're ever having a bad day, go to a homeless shelter and pass out some food. You feel a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, when I started my foundation, just like my child foundation, it was after I had a couple of miscarriages. I didn't know what the hell to do. And next thing, I'm on the other side of the world meeting people who have nothing and are happier than I am, and being in a position where I can make a contribution, and it healed my life. It healed everything. And I think, you know, this is what I see happening with my kid now, Andre, and, you know, you've helped us so much, is being able to contribute has given him a sense of power that he didn't know he had. So how do you do that? Like, there are so many kids that are struggling now. I think that's why I'm doing this. I think it's an epidemic, and
Completely.
You know, mental health issues, addiction, substance use. I think a lot of it is triggered by technology now. And, you know, what's the number one piece of advice you would give a parent?
You're not the solution. You're not the first line. You're part of the problem in the eyes of your child. So when you're going through, even though you might have all the right answers, but the kid is blaming you. My kid was probably like 12 years old. He came to see me. He lived in London. He came for the summer. And during the summer, I probably Disney cruise, this cruise, Universal. We went all over. We flew around. You know, you splurge for your kid for the summer. So you got for the summer. We got the whole thing planned out. I bought him a little speaker and gave it to him. And take it, because dad got one, I want you to have one. At the end of the summer, he went to a golf tournament and he won the exact same speaker. He's the only child. So I took one of the speakers back. He stopped. I didn't know it. He went home. Then the calls got short and the calls got distant. And I said, what is the problem? He said, you took the speaker from me. I said, what speaker? I said, you went home with a speaker. He said, I had another one. You took it from me. I said, you had one. He said, I was going to give that one to my best friend. And then you took it from me. And I know you're a bully and you don't listen. And so I couldn't talk to you about it. So I just went home and it internalized mad at you. And it just became, I'm not talking to you. And he went down that path for a $25 Bluetooth speaker. After spending over $10,000 for the summer, he was going to throw me away. Because in the mind of a 12-year-old is processing the mind of a 12-year-old. He's not 35. He's not 42. He's not an adult. So in his mind, the most important thing was taking that little $25 speaker and giving it to his best friend, which was going to make him happy. I took his happiness away. Had I been too busy and traveling around and I'm still buying birthday presents and we're still doing Christmas, I wouldn't have paid attention. My son could be anywhere hating his dad, stressed out on drugs, cutting himself, doing whatever, all over a $25 speaker. So it's not always something super traumatic, like he got thrown away or he got raped or he got beat. For him, that $25 speaker was serious.
So it sounds like your number one piece of advice is listen without your filter, right?
And
like listen as though what's going on is really the truth for
that person.
That person, even if you don't agree with it, even you're like, that is such bullshit. Like, I just spent $10,000 on
and you're going to throw me away for $25. And know what I said to him? I said, son, he was 13. I said, go in your pocket. What do you got? Pulled out his wallet. I said, what's in your wallet? He said, my credit cards. I said, why don't you just go buy him a damn speaker? If you felt that strongly about it, you could have went and bought him. You got a credit card in your pocket. You could walk in any store and buy him. It all ended right there until we were able to catch it. And it was like a couple of weeks. We caught it, we fixed it, we addressed it, we got past it. Now, another thing I'll tell you about kids in the suburbs, I grew up in a small house in the inner city, and it was rough, in a rough neighborhood. So growing up, I never felt compelled to beat my mother's house. It wasn't a challenge. But if you live in the suburbs and a $2-3 million house in a gated community with cars and boats and planes and and maids, and I couldn't imagine being 14 years old in a $5 million house thinking, I got to get one of these. I got to get one of these when I get big. That's a lot of pressure. I got to get one of these. And I got to be able to take my family on these types of trips. And I got to buy my wife that type of stuff. And that's a lot of pressure. And you got 3 kids, 2 academics, 1's not. So the non-academic is like, I can't do this. This ain't me. I'll never make enough money to buy a house like this. I'm a failure. Just living in your house is pressure on kids because they feel they have to meet this standard of living. This is the standard of living. We have 2 cars. We take 3 vacations. We have this house. We have a maid. We have this. We have parties. And I gotta produce this sooner than later. And I don't see myself making enough money to produce this. Now, your husband probably didn't make that money until he was 40. He didn't make it at 22. But nobody told the kid this didn't happen at 22. Because when they met you, you already had it.
That is so, that's so incredible. Like that insight is so amazing because I see this now. I mean, not to kind of really pull back the curtain, but I see it with my son. He is with kids, in situations where the parents are through the roof wealthy with so much excess and not the time to really focus on the kid. Even though I think a lot of these parents, they're trying to figure it out.
They're trying in their way, but doesn't resonate with the kid.
But I think that point about how can I ever live up to this? And I don't know that I even want this. This is what your value system is. Kid, it's a completely socialist communist situation with Gen Z now, they're everything for everybody. I think that is such a valid thing. I can never live up to this. So why even try? It's like, we give so much with the assumption that this is going to help our kid. Yeah. And you should be grateful when, you know, it isn't what they've asked for, and then they become entitled. So I sort of want to bring this around. This is just so valuable. I think just your presence and your energy and your ability to envision transformation is a lifeline for so many people and parents and the prisoners that you work with. If you had one piece of advice you wish every family would take seriously, no matter where they live.
Don't wait till your kid's in trauma and crisis to ask for help. Just because everything's going well, it is until it's not. You didn't think about asking for help until your kid hit trauma line. Until it kicked in, everything's fine. You tell yourself everything fine until it's not. It's like we go through life and we're healthy, and the doctor says, you got prostate cancer, or you got diabetes, or you got, then we go into action. When it wasn't the diabetes, it was our eating habits. We've been eating bad for 30 years. Or I got cancer. Or I've been smoking for 25 years. Or I got a liver problem. So it's not my liver, it's my choices. So please, 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 don't wait until the crisis comes to want to ask for help. Not saying it's too late, but preventative is so much easier than hope.
So what would preventative be? Because it's not until, like you said about shame. I think shame is, I want to just blow shame wide open on the Bad Mom podcast.
What you could do,
like, what do you do?
You're a suburban mom, you got a kid in middle school, you hire some speakers that come to your kid's school. Don't wait for the school to hire them. You got enough money, hire the speaker to come in and speak to your kid. Then you can even say, hey, that's my kid right there, check on them, see how they're doing. And we go to the school because my son went to a private school. There was no shortage of drugs at the private school. There was no shortage of drugs at the private school.
They're all the good ones are there.
They took it out of our cabinets.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
The baseline is get people in your kid's life early. You control the environment that your kid's in. So you might want to send your kid to a retreat that's a religious retreat, a retreat that's a personal development retreat, a retreat that's a biking retreat. You want to put them not just in fun stuff, but some of it is like reverse therapeutic, where you can get a gauge and just don't send them and don't talk to them about it. So often we send our kids to come back, you had fun? Yeah, okay, bye. They want to talk to you. They want to share. And in their sharing, they're going to tell you what they learned, what they saw, what they heard, what they were exposed to. And if we're not listening, then we're missing the cues. Your kid will communicate to you what they're going through because they've been doing it since they were babies. They cried when they were hungry. They cried when they were wet. Yeah, mommy this and mommy that and daddy. Since birth, they've been programmed to tell us how they feel. At some point, we stop listening. And then that's the point where our kid goes off the rails and we're like, what happened? Listen to your kid. Interject people into their lives early. And the one thing I'm going to say to all parents, you need to find who that voice is for your child. There's a voice that your child listens to. You need to find that voice and tap into that voice and be friends with that voice. If it's the best friend, if it's an uncle, if it's a school teacher, if it's an instructor, you need to find out who that person is. Because if you ever need your kid to do something, go there. I say, hey, son, let's go outside and rake the grass. Come on, Dad, I'm on vacation. My sister, his favorite aunt, said, let's go clean the neighborhood. He's running outside barefoot. Hey, son, let's go to the movies. There's a good movie out. Dad, that's boring. My sister says, hey, let's go to the corner and just throw rocks at the door. He's running down the street. Anything my sister said, he runs to the door. I say this argument because with me comes the time he didn't get the gift he wanted. Comes the time he got put on punishment. Comes the time I made him go to bed. I'm the guy that shuts off the TV. I'm the guy that makes him do his homework. So it's not just, it makes sense in what I'm saying. He's getting 18 years of emotional history in every answer I give him. Where my sister, she's never told him no. That's why grandparents are so great with kids. They've never had to tell them no. We all love our grandparents because they only say yes. So you need to, as a parent, find that voice that your child listens to. Who's your favorite person growing up? Did you listen to no matter what?
Who's my favorite person?
Yeah, other than your mom or dad, who was that person, your best friend? They said, let's go jump off a cliff. You're jumping. Let's go to the club.
It was probably a cousin, an older cousin who was like a role model. She was beautiful. She was gentle. She took me places that nobody took me.
And you went, wherever she said do, you did.
Yeah. No,
So imagine if I went to
always
her and said, hey, let's get her to sign up for this program. And if she suggested you're in it, your mother
yeah,
suggested you're
yeah,
discussing it. If auntie
yeah,
suggested you can't wait to do it, and you're going
yeah,
with a great
yeah,
attitude, you have to
yeah,
find the voice in your child's life because sometimes they're bad influences. Your aunt was a great lady and she did great with you. Sometimes that voice is a bad influence. So we don't want to just leave it to chance and hope that they found somebody great. Sometimes the voice I found wasn't a good voice. And it wasn't until I found a good voice that I could turn my life around.
yeah. Well, Andre, to that point, how do people find out about you? How do they work with you? What can you tell them about reaching out and some of your programs and efforts?
I mean, there's a lot of things that I do, but I want to complicate it. If you're home right now and you're struggling and you have a child or a daughter or a loved one that's going through it, reach out to the Mom Podcast, say, yo, V, I need to talk to that man. And go through the person that introduced you to me. Don't try to, I'll take your call, but go to the person that knows me best and say, hey, can you set up so I can talk to Andre? And the answer is yes. It's not a long, drawn out thing. The answer is yes. We will talk to you. We will help you. And we will help you with your child. We'll help you get the understanding and clarity. We'll help your child get better. So reach out. Listen, you have a trusted person right here to put this podcast together because she loves you. She cares about you. Reach out to V and say, V, we want, even if you don't want to talk to me, they say, hey, ask him, can come back on and talk about this. If you don't have the space or the place to get on a call with me right now because it's just too painful, send us the topic and we can come on and we can talk about the topic and you can get help without talking to me. We will help you any way we can, whether it's directly or indirectly. But they just have to reach out to
Yeah.
you and I'm there.
Well, and just andrenorman.com, you have a
AndreNorman.com,
lot of information, a lot about your history, a lot of the links to your videos,
all my social
to
media
what
is
you're
there.
about. Yeah. And you are so generous and you always say yes, which is amazing.
One thing before I go, because I was at
Yeah.
the event in Phoenix and I'm helping people. And a guy came up to me and said, hey, Andre, there's a guy in San Francisco. His son's on drugs. Can you call him and help him? So I called the father and the son was out in the street, ran off. They live in a really nice neighborhood. I said, hey, what's going on? He said, well, son took off again. He's on drugs. I can't help him. I said, I'll fly out there tomorrow and I'll come find him and I'll get him in rehab. He says, well, you don't know my son. You've never been in this part of San Francisco. He said, well, how's that going to work? I said, I'm going to get on a plane. I'm in Phoenix and I'll fly to San Francisco. It's about an hour and a half. He says, but how's this going to work? And I kept saying, I'll come and I'll find him. I'll get him in treatment. He just couldn't get it. He said, well, can we do it next week? I said, I'm in Phoenix, but I live in Atlanta. Can you do it next week? And at the end, I said, okay, I'll do it next week. His son OD'd that Sunday. And the problem was they'd been through it enough times. They've heard enough this. How is this black gang member from the East Coast who's never been in this part of San Francisco and come find my little rich white kid in his neighborhood? He couldn't figure it out. So he said, well, let me do some more research. If I just said, hey, it's $7,500. I want a first class ticket. I need a car at Hertz. I need a room at the Ritz. And I'm going to do this. He could have understood that because that's his language. He didn't understand somebody just saying, I'm going to help your kid. Don't worry about it. He couldn't process it. Then he's judging me and he's judging what I'm offering him instead of saying he's offering to help my kid. He's trying to make what I'm offering make sense. And what I'm offering makes sense. I'm offering to help your kid. So I'm going to say this last thing. Don't judge me. Just be glad I'm showing up. Don't judge me. Just be happy that I'm willing to show up and let me come help.
Yeah, no. You said the same exact thing to me, and
Next week might never come.
It was unbelievably generous and kind. And I'll tell you what, in full transparency, I was so excited to have a black gang member, former prisoner, come and talk to my son because you would have been that person he could have trusted and believed in and changed his beliefs about his situation. So you're the real deal for sure. And I just want to thank you for being you, Andre.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you. And we got number love for y'all. It's going to get better. It definitely gets better.
Thank you so much for your contribution and your efforts and your stand, how you stand for young people and really helping them to transcend and to change their beliefs to be able to have a life worth living. So thank you so much for joining me here today on the Bad Mom Podcast. You're not a bad mom. You're not a bad parent. You're a badass in a broken system. Keep fighting. We've got your back. This is the unlearning. This is the undoing. This is the uprising. Bad parents unite because they'd rather you stay silent.